Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So we're reading from the Bhagavad Gita, and this is chapter 6, text 33. Chapter 6, text 33. Arjuna Uvacha. Okay, let's do it. Arjuna Uvacha. Yoyam yogastvaya prokta. Samyena madhusudana. Etasyaham na pashyami. Chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Yoyam yogastvaya prokta. Samyena madhusudana. Etasyaham na pashyami. Chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Yoyam yogastvaya prokta. Samyena madhusudana. Etasyaham na pashyami. Chanchalatvat stitim stiram. Word for word. Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Ya ayam, this system, yoga, mysticism, tvaya, by you, prokta, described, samyena, generally, madhusudana, O killer of the demon Madhu, etasya, of this, aham, I, na, do not, pashyami, see, chanchalatvat, due to being restless, stitim, situation, stiram, stable. Here's the translation. Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Purport. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, beginning with the words Suchau Dese and ending with Yogi Parama, is here being rejected by Arjuna out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungle to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of mind from material engagement. As a practical man, Arjuna thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior. He had great longevity. And above all, he was the most intimate friend of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 5,000 years ago, Arjuna had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance. of the desired goal. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangam Langayati Girinya Kripatadaham Vande Shivaram Dinataranam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Niranjana Swamiti Namane Anahata Prayasana Prabhupadasya Tustaye Sankirtan Praviti Arta Yate Shivaya Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavali Paschatya Satarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the thought that I wanted to contemplate or think about or discuss today was a word. And that word is struggle. Has everybody heard of the word struggle? Has anybody ever struggled doing anything? Struggle? Yeah, okay. So it says here, I looked up one definition. There's a few different definitions, but this one I seem to really was drawn to. It's, I think, Webster's definition. It says, to experience difficulty and make a great effort in order to do something. Here are some examples. The dog had been struggling to get free of the wire noose. I've been struggling to understand this article all afternoon. Fish struggle for survival when the water level drops in the lake. Some synonyms for the word struggle and antonyms. Attempt. If you try to attempt, I have never attempted to run a marathon. Endeavor. Endeavor is another popular word. We're endeavoring to achieve something, accomplish something. To battle. Right? That's another battle. He was battling to fix the roof in the rain. Right? Or Arjuna was battling on the battle of Kurukshetra. Right? To strive. Right? With limited resources, they are striving to make the school a better one. Right? The different similar words, right, that are being used. And the reason why this word kind of came to mind was it came to mind when I was at Ratha Yatra yesterday, and there was a nice festival, and I saw so many faces, and I saw devotees that I haven't seen for years, right? Some of them gained a lot of weight. Some of them were skinny and looking really great, right? So there's different changes, the kids were this tall, now they're this big, that we haven't seen, different relationships that may have gone to the wayside, some devotees that maybe moved away, from the association of devotees, they were never to be seen, but Ratha Yatra somehow brought them all together. Everybody came out of the woodworks, and it was kind of this united, experience. It was so nice. And, some older, Prabhupada disciples also, a little bit, how it is. Sometimes you're in a movement, you've been practicing, you become a little bit hardened, a little bit jaded, right? Because things have changed. Maybe the society isn't flowing as it used to be, right? Or it's not like it was in the olden days. But still, those devotees were there. Still, those devotees were full of enthusiasm. They were chanting the holy name. And it was so, so nice to see them. And I was reflecting on this and thinking how, wow, it's so nice that these devotees all come together, right? Because it's a struggle sometimes. It's a struggle to hop in the car, to make the endeavor. And maybe even a struggle to come to the temple on Sundays sometimes. You're thinking, well, I have so many things I have to do. I went to the festival yesterday. I need to take a break, But I'm going to go. I'm going to struggle a little bit. Mm-hmm. Does anybody here like to struggle?
Yes.
Who? Raise your hand if you like to struggle. You like to struggle? Anybody else like to struggle?
Get a battle for my Maya. Yes, struggle is like a battle.
It's like a battle. Okay, very good. You like the feeling of a battle, yeah?
Yes,
you like that. Very good, yes. So I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. From a Vedic perspective, struggle is very good, right? We should want to struggle. Sometimes, especially this day and age, you look at, the new generation that's there, even my generation, millennials, it's like they want something, but they don't want to do anything for it. Right? They don't really want to work. They just want to collect the paycheck, right? Or just go there. And if it gets a little bit tough, I quit. I'm going to go somewhere else, right? Because I don't want to struggle. Because perhaps maybe we don't realize the value of struggle. How it's actually essential, even materially speaking. Especially spiritually speaking. When you struggle for Krishna, and that's something we're going to talk about a little bit. This is really kind of a place of growth. This is where one can really advance, right? And so, yeah, there seems to be, in this day and age in society, it's very prevalent that people don't want to struggle. They just want results right away. But when they do quit and they do give up and they say, I don't want to struggle, what happens? Do they stop struggling? It's another struggle. It continues. This is the nature of this world, actually. There is constantly a struggle. There's constantly problem. There's constantly political upheaval. There's no. Sometimes people say that, oh yes, we want to come and work for the government because that's the best security, right? It's easy. You're on easy street. But you even see that doesn't even come together. That's jobs are being still lost. Security is. It's not really a sure thing. So, people are trying their fate in different things. So this is Arjuna, pretty much. He's speaking this chapter. Chapter 6 is Dhyana Yoga, right? So it's basically meditation, right? Krishna's giving instructions. Just meditate, find a quiet place. Just don't be disturbed. Calm your mind, be peaceful. And Arjuna is a very special person, right? He's a very advanced personality. He was a close friend of Krishna. He had so much opulence, so much strength, such a strong character. And he said, oh Krishna, this system with yoga that you've summarized, that you told, what to do, this is so difficult. And then he starts talking a little bit about the mind. So you go in text 34, he says, the mind, I'm having problems with my mind. He says, it's restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. Oh, Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it's more difficult than controlling the wind. It's so difficult. And then Lord Krishna says, he says, oh, Arjuna, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and detachment. And he gives us a little bit of a glimpse, Lord Krishna. He says, for one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work. But he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. And then Arjuna says, oh Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist? So he's saying, Krishna, what happens if I fail? I'm trying, it's a struggle for me, but what happens if I fail? Who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection or mysticism? It's a question mark. He's asking this to Krishna. Krishna responds, Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is, so this is Arjuna speaking, Almighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt. So, the Supreme Personality of Godhead then said, so Krishna said, O son of Pita, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction, either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. So let's read a little bit of what Prabhupada says in this purport here. He says, Narada Muni instructs Vyasadeva as follows. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam. If someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. For material prospects, there are many activities, both scriptural and customary. A transcendentalist is supposed to give up all material activities for the sake of spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness. One may argue that by Krishna consciousness, one may attain the highest perfection if it is completed. But if one does not attain such a perfectional stage, then he loses both materially and spiritually. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one has to suffer the reactions for not executing prescribed duties. Therefore, one who fails to discharge transcendental activity properly becomes subjected to these reactions. And the Bhagavatam assures that unsuccessful transcendentalists that there need to be no worries. It says, even though he may be subjected to the reaction for not perfectly executing prescribed duties, he is still not a loser, because auspicious Krishna consciousness is never forgotten, and one so engaged will continue to be so even if he is low-born in the next life. On the other hand, one who simply follows strictly the prescribed duties need not necessarily attain auspicious results if he is lacking in Krishna consciousness. The purport may be understood as follows. Humanity may be divided into two sections, namely the regulated and the non-regulated. Those who are engaged simply in bestial sense gratifications without knowledge of their next life or spiritual salvation belong to the non-regulated section, and those who follow the principles of prescribed duties in the scriptures are classified amongst the regulated section. The non-regulated section, both civilized and non-civilized, educated and non-educated, strong and weak, are full of animal propensities. Their activities are never auspicious, because while enjoying the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, they perpetually remain in material existence, which is always miserable. On the other hand, those who are regulated by scriptural injunctions and who thus rise gradually to Krishna consciousness certainly progress in life. So here it's saying that, even if you take up to the process of bhakti yoga, this meditation, maybe doing service, and it may be difficult. Even if you sway or you have a difficult time, struggle, you still gain great benefit, right? And that's never lost, right? Because eventually you're going to come back into it. It's going to come and click, right? And you'll come around, right? So sometimes, that's another reflection that I had. You see, sometimes people move away or they go away or things change in their life or they may become inimical or, some tragedy happened. There was a lady, I was sitting in the questions and answers booth yesterday in Montreal, and some people, first time comers were coming by and asking different questions. And one of the ladies was talking a little bit about karma. She wanted to know about karma, and she says she's practicing a bit of Buddhism. And the thing that doesn't, sit with her very well is like, what happens to all of those, children, right, who maybe have faced rape or, people who were, exploited, in another country or because of war, what did they do to deserve something like this? How can you say that it's just karma? And she understands the principle of what comes around goes around, and that's what it is. But I was trying to kind of explain to her, it's very difficult for us to see what Krishna's plan is. We think that we know, why this is happening, or we try to rationalize or realize. But if we could only understand, right, or realize that actually for us to just come to this human form, right, take this human life form, just on this planet, there's 8,400,000 different species of life. And likely, for us to just be able to have the privilege of having a human birth, we must have taken millions of births, right, to be able to get here, right? So you think about that, how many times was I an ant, right? Or I was squashed, somebody stepped on me, or a mosquito, right? Or maybe I was a part of war, right? On the scale of things, when you look at that, if you really realized, what did I do in my previous life? That would give you a little bit of humility. That's a little humility. Think, wow, I'm a wretch, I think I'm so big, right? But, this is what I've done. I've deserved much, much, much worse, However, naturally, a devotee is always compassionate, right? So if he sees somebody that's suffering or in a difficult situation, always wants to be helpful, always wants to help. So this is our position. But these are some facts. This is something that helps us kind of explain karma a little bit, part of the struggle. And we can even see it in our society. I mean, like, I remember watching, was it, First World War and some of the atrocities that happened, right? And then, World War II. And then they made a slogan, everybody said, never again. Never again is it going to happen, right? And it's happening, right? It's constantly happening. It's happening again and again. And just people become so desensitized. It says, oh, yes, it's happened. Oh, yes, it's terrible. It's so bad. It's actually terrible. It's horrible. There's terrible struggle out there. There's constant exploitation that's happening. And for us, when we decide that we want to go away from Krishna, because we think that there's an alternative path, we pretty much take part in causing suffering. Because as soon as we want to enjoy for ourselves personally, that means that somebody else has to suffer, right? Because we have to exploit somebody materially if we want something, step on somebody's feet to be able to get something. Because it doesn't belong to us, right? Everything belongs to Krishna. And that's the devotee's understanding, that everything belongs to Krishna, and I'm a caretaker of Krishna's property, and that's my duty to try to do that, to take care and perform my devotional service to Krishna as my constitutional relationship with Krishna. Somebody else asked the question. I was talking about, he says people this day and age, they're really into the body, right, and wanting to health and those things. The vegan movement is picking up, vegetarian movement is taking steam. And the question was, what's the difference between a devotee running and a materialist, right, for somebody who's not of the mindset of wanting to be a devotee? He says, what is the difference between those two activities? And I was saying, well, I could think about my Guru Maharaj. I could think, because he has a very rigorous exercise routine. He exercises every day. But his thought when it comes to exercising, and I've seen it, I've been with him, he has to do this duty, because if he doesn't do it, he can't sit up straight. He can't lecture so much. He can't be able to continue to do his service. So he's doing the exercise simply because he needs to continue to do his service, so he can be around for a little bit longer and be able to do that. So this is the thought of a devotee, is thinking, yes, I'm doing it. I'm not doing it because I'm trying to enjoy. I'm doing it because I want to do it for Krishna somehow. And of course, that's easier said than done, because do we always think like that? Do we think that every activity I'm doing, I'm going to do exercise, just doing it for Krishna? No, we're thinking, oh, this feels good, right? We try to enjoy it. We try to somehow take it for ourselves a little bit. And so this process of bhakti yoga, when we start doing it, it actually helps us. It helps us kind of clear. It's a clearing stage. It helps us figure out, what we should be doing. Helps us reestablish a connection with Krishna. There was one section here also, as my Guru Maharaj, he did a lecture on a purport, and I wanted to talk about this also because this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, and it's prayers of Queen Kunti. So Queen Kunti was the mother of Arjuna and the Pandavas, and she's famously known because she was praying, "Oh Lord, may all the calamities fall upon me, May hardships come upon me just so I can remember you a little bit more, right? And these struggles happen so I can remember you." So Maharaj, he spoke about this. I'm going to read the translation of the verse. So this is Queen Kunti saying, "My Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feelings." And Maharaj later, Prabhupada gives the purport, but I'm just going to, pull this up here. He says, Because sometimes we get into this kind of thought that, when we do like devotional service, it's like, oh, chanted my rounds, that's it, I've done a lot, I've done enough, there's too much struggle, I need a break, I need to take it easy. And here Maharaj talks about, he says, about chanting. He was talking about Haridas Thakur, right? He's known as the Namacharya, right? The teacher of the holy name. And he explains, Haridas Thakur explains that the devotee never even aspires for liberation, salokya, samipya, sarsti. They may be offered to the devotee, but the devotee, as Krishna says in the Bhagavatam, he is only interested in service to me. That's all he hankers for. That is his desire. He simply hankers for service. He doesn't think, I'm serving, so much service I'm doing, but he only thinks, I can't do enough service. I don't have any love for Krishna. I'm not qualified for Krishna's mercy. But even though I'm not qualified for Krishna's mercy, I'll never give up chanting. I'll never give up chanting. Here Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in Srila Bhakti Yoga, that is the qualification of the devotee. He is patient. He says that the karmis, jnanis, and bhaktas all desire some results. The karmis, they want fruit of gain. The jnanis want liberation. And the bhaktas want Krishna's pleasure. That is the mercy they aspire for. Therefore, the bhakta who wants Krishna's pleasure must be patient. He says, patient means that I will go on chanting Krishna's names. I will go on serving Krishna. I will someday get his mercy, whether it's now or 10 years from now or 100 births from now. I'll never give up chanting. When a devotee actually chants in this mood with the desire to please the Lord, knowing that someday I will get this mercy, even though I'm unqualified to get the mercy, he can chant feelingly. He doesn't chant feeling satisfied that I have done enough. He never thinks that he has done enough. He never thinks I'm a Vaishnava. I'm simply aspiring to become a Vaishnava, he thinks. And I think we were listening to Vaisheshika Prabhu. He was talking about how for devotees, it's always good to think that I'm a neophyte. I'm always a neophyte to the very end. It's not that, okay, I'm not a neophyte anymore. And what did he say? It's good to, he says, what did he say about acting like a fool?
Yeah, think you're a fool, but don't act.
He says, think you're a fool, but don't act like you're a fool, right? So this is the spirit of a Vaishnava. So we get the support, and that support is given us, throughout the Bhagavad Gita. And there's coping mechanisms that are given us. Krishna's saying, be patient, this is what the world is like, things comes, you've got stresses, you have happiness, right? Things are flickering. And he says, just continue trying. 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, Krishna is saying that, my devotee, he may engage in sense gratification sometimes. And, unwanting to, just out of weakness of heart, he may engage, have a fall down. And Krishna says we should become enthusiastic. We shouldn't become discouraged. We should continue. Our attitude is that we're repentant, right? That we still acknowledge that we're insignificant, but we should enthusiastically continue practicing on the path of bhakti. So, and Prabhupada gives a couple of also supports. He talks about staying in the boat, because I was thinking that's a nice analogy that's given. Devotees say, just stay in the boat, Prabhu, just keep coming to the temple, keep coming to the festivals, make these endeavors. And Srila Prabhupada here says, it is said that the human form is a great boon because it is most suitable boat for crossing over the Nishant's ocean. The spiritual master is considered to be the most able captain in the boat, and the information from the scriptures is the favorable wind for floating over the ocean of Nishants. The human being who does not take advantage of all these facilities in this life is committing suicide, Prabhupada says. Therefore, one who does not begin Krishna consciousness in the human form of life loses his life to the influence of illusory energy. Brahma regrets the situation of such a human being. So Brahma, this discussion here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So those are some of the things that are being said here. Also, we have our great acharyas, right? So we hear it from Arjuna, right? So he's somebody, who's very elevated. He's confessing that he's having struggle in the Bhagavad Gita. And then we look at some of our teachers, like the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. They make such sincere callings and songs. And I wanted to read one. Here's one. It's pretty explicit. This is called Amar Jivana, and it's written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And I'm going to read the translation. This is him speaking. And mind you, this was a person who would, wake up, what did we say, at 10 o'clock at nighttime, right? And then read and write for 6 hours. And then he would maybe sleep for 2.5 hours all day. And he was a magistrate, very, very sought after person in the work world, right? A great, great teacher, great scholar on the science of bhakti. And this is his prayer, right? So this is one of the songs that he wrote. He said, I am an impious sinner, and I have caused others great anxiety and trouble. I have never hesitated to perform sinful acts for my own enjoyment. Devoid of all compassion, concerned only with my own selfish interest, I am remorseful seeing others happy. I am a perpetual liar, and the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. The material desires within the core of my heart are unlimited. I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity, and bewildered by worldly affairs. Envy and egotism are the ornaments I wear. Ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds, yet I am very active and enthusiastic to perform wicked acts. For worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. Thus I am destroyed by my own greed and am always lustful. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. I am such a person, devoid of all good works, forever inclined towards evil, worn out and wasted by various miseries. Now in old age, deprived of all means of success, humbled and poor, Bhaktivinoda submits his tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme Lord. It's pretty intense, right? So you get a bit of a glimpse in the life of a Vaishnava, right? That how there's such an internal reflection that's happening. There is a struggle that's there. And constantly, again, another ornament is the third verse of Krsna, that one should be more humble, more tolerant than a tree, more humble than a blade of grass, be ready to offer all respects to others, devoid of all sense of false prestige. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Maharaj was saying, in such a state of mind, one can continue chanting the holy name feelingly, when that's there. So, these examples are given to us, such as Arjuna, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. He went through great struggles as well. And we should try to pray like this also. That's why we sing some of these songs, because we want to be able to get this kind of association. We want to be able to get the termination that some of these great Vaishnavas have. And I was also reflecting that sometimes, again, people, when you see somebody successful, right, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's materially, you could look at him, he was successful. People think that, oh, it comes so easy, right? Oh, because, he's got this. I don't have to try so hard, right? Somehow, why isn't it happening for me? But they fail to realize how much introspection actually is happening. How much of a fight is there? How much of this, battle of Kurukshetra is everybody's facing on a daily basis. So, anyways, the acharyas, they tell us that yes, we should continue to stay on the path, stay in the boat, continue associating, continue coming to festivals, continuing to take up challenges, when we have the opportunity to take up challenges, surrounding ourselves with association of devotees, surrounding ourselves with, chanting the holy name, prioritizing our lives in such a way that we can grow, that we can struggle somehow for Krishna. Because the alternative, well, it's not really that great. Right, so I thought maybe we could pause now. We're at 4:15, and maybe some devotees have some reflections from their personal lives, would like to share their struggles, right? Or their, and maybe rather than sharing their struggles, right, their tips of how they overcome, right, or how they, are here. And it's actually a really great thing, right, to see the fact that devotees are coming here, able to come to the temple. You're all great yogis. You must have done some extremely pious things to be able to come here at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. So thank you very much. And I'll hand it over to you. Yeah, Karani Janaki has some questions. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Struggle is permanent or temporary or how?
It depends. Some struggles happen for a really long time. You can struggle a lot, whether you have some kind of I was thinking devotees who have even some kind of sickness, they struggle physically, right? Or they may struggle, emotionally. Actually, there's even struggle in the spiritual world. You see that the struggle is there in Vrindavan, right? The gopis are struggling, right? Because they're thinking, when will I see Krishna? Krishna has disappeared, right? He's gone. But as we discussed last week, we said that it was explained that actually Vrindavan is known to be the most opulent place, in comparison to Dwarka Mathura, because there's such feelings, such great deep feelings, between Krishna and the gopis, and there's this separation that's there, and then they unite again. So it's actually a really great question, because this struggle actually helps us appreciate, if things were always going perfectly well, and everybody's fine, like where would the emotion be? Where would the rasa be? Where would the relationship go? Right? So, very often when I speak to Mother Shushma, sometimes I'm always asking her, how are you doing? And she says, oh, Krishna's mercy, Prabhu. And I'm always thinking, is that good or bad? Right? But, I speak to Mandala Ram Prabhu, I see him in the restaurant, and I'm like, how are you doing, Prabhu? He's working hard. He says, oh, I'm blissful, Prabhu. So, it's a perspective of a Vaishnava. They take it as, hey, it's good, it's all good, it's happening. I'm getting such a mercy right now, right? Somehow Krishna is providing me the circumstances for me to be able to remember him a little bit more, to think about him more, to be enthusiastic.
So we are all like in the position of Kunti Maharani. So she says, give me more struggle so that we will be able to remember Krishna all the time.
Yes. Except, maybe we're not quite there as where Kunti is, because she's saying she can handle the struggle. She says, I'm remembering struggles. Some of us, sometimes if we take too much struggle, it can be a little tough, right? So better to pray, oh Lord, how can I be your servant, right? Rather than, oh Lord, give me some struggles, bring it on, right? Because, Krishna's testing us also. Maya is testing us. She's testing. Do we really want to serve Krishna, or do we want to disturb Krishna? So that'd be a question.
Just some comments about the question followed by him for the struggle. So when we see the life of Krishna himself being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna could have been born in a palace with everything around him, but he's born in a jail. Who can think of something, a God being born in a jail? But he just wanted to tell us a path that in a human life, even when the God comes in, he has to go through every possible difficulty. At midnight, he's separated from his mother who gave him the birth, and he has to go to Gokul to someone else. At the night, there is so much of heavy rains, and a little child born as a god, he has to face so much of struggle right from the birth. When students of his age is going to the school of Vedic Gurukul, he doesn't have any guru until he kills the demon Kans, and then he gets the Rishi Sandipani. So he himself has struggled all his life. So he's giving us a message that when I am born in this human body, we have to struggle throughout our life. So I think even if you go to the pathway of Krishna consciousness, I think struggle is inevitable. You have to struggle every path and just wait for the right results.
Thank you. So it's a reflection that you had. You're thinking, okay, yeah. Although Krishna is not an ordinary person, right? So but he wants to come. It says that he appears on this earth, right, for two reasons. One is to annihilate the miscreants, and the other reason is to deliver the devotees. And actually, he loves that. He loves this different relationships, rasas that are there, because he wants to taste. He wants to be able to taste this, right? He comes specifically on earth, and even the demigods, they come and they're envious. They're thinking, "Oh, I wish I could have that. See what Krishna's doing down there? Like, it's amazing." And so, I think definitely, he's showing us these examples. And even yesterday, we saw this play in Montreal, which was called Demon. You boys remember Demon, right? And it was excellent. It was done. Hiranyakashipu was this demon, and he wanted everything for himself. And he was also struggling, obviously, because Vishnu was constantly there. His son was always talking about Vishnu. He's thinking Vishnu is the best. And at some point, Bhakti Marg Maharaj is narrating, and his son tells him in his ear, "What did you learn?" And he goes, "You learned from Vish? No!" And he said, "Not Vishnu." And then at the end, there's the epic battle ensues with Nishingadev, half man, half lion. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal play. And then Hiranyakashipu, and he rips him apart. And then at the end, Nishingadev is with Prahlad. Prahlad is on his lap. And Nishingadev is saying, "And you love everybody?" And Prahlad's saying, "Yes." "And even you love your father?" And he says, "Yes." All of those things. Highlighting the qualities again of a Vaishnava. But anyways, Krishna loves it. He loves this dynamic of having these different actions, being part of an action movie, the greatest action saga that ever happened. So it's wonderful. Braja Premika had a question, reflection. Sorry. Oh, yeah? Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So when you're talking about the word struggle, I remember the Kapil Muni when he was giving instruction to Mother Devotee, Tapotivyam, that he got this human body to do some sacrifice for Krishna. Then I remember the story of we are trying to find happiness in the wrong place. There was one man, he saw the gold in the river, he jumped into the river, he didn't find anything. Then he tried to jump into the river in the different side, but he didn't still see any gold. Then he saw that a saintly person passing by. He asked Sadhu that, "Can you help me with finding the gold?" He said that, "Sure." Then he said that the gold that you're looking, there's no gold in the river. That's just a reflection. Real gold is in the spiritual, like in the tree, which means that we are trying to find happiness in the lower planet, but real happiness is in the spiritual planet, which is the background of the Golak Vrindavana. And even Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Dukhalam Shastratam, the world that I've created is full of miseries and suffering. So I just want to share my.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Braja Premika?
I was just appreciating about association, how association just keeps staying in that association, and how it's healing for us, and it helps us along in the process. And I was thinking about the situation with Kavi yesterday. So yesterday we were at Rath Yatra, and Kavi has an allergy, an anaphylactic allergy, and he was very excited. He was running around, he was doing great. They were able to sneak into the Prasadam, Jagannath Prasadam area. They're so little, so they're squeezing in and they're getting lots of Prasadam. Then they go back, so they have a free source. And somehow, he ended up eating something that was a peanut, and this is what he has the allergy for. So he came right away, and we had to administer an EpiPen for the first time. So it was, very serious. He was closing up, and then there was a devotee, Krsna Dulal Prabhu, who's a respiratory therapist, and he was right there, and he was explaining, you just have to watch for a relapse after. So, make sure that you have a second EpiPen, and what can happen is they're fine, and then they relapse something again. It wears off, and then it could go tight. And he's okay. He's here. Everything worked out fine. But I was reflecting in our Krishna consciousness. Suddenly we're doing fine, and then we go out of association, or something like that happens where we really close off, and we get this dose through these festivals, or this inspiration through a kirtan, and we feel great. But there's always a chance of relapse, right? So we really have to stay in the association, because otherwise, without that, when we're away from it, there's so many cross contaminants in the material world that can affect us so severely. So the struggle is there, and we have to stay with the medicine, going in the association.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This one doesn't work so great. So with that being said, some devotees were talking yesterday, because we came to the festival and we saw it was such a nice festival, and obviously it was a lot of work. You could see there's lots of devotees. They must have distributed thousands of plates of prasadam, right? There's a prasadam tent, and devotees were standing right next to each other and doing that. And we realized that we have our own Ratha Yatra festival that's coming up pretty soon, and that's going to be August 27th. So we're talking about 6 weeks away from now. And now this festival isn't just going to magically happen, right? It's not that we're going to show up and it's going to happen. I mean, it could, but if we want to make it come together, want to have something nice to meditate on, then we should start preparing, right? We have to start thinking, what do we need to do to make this happen or that happen? And I'll just give you an update so far, where I'm at with that. So we do have a permit for the park at Sandy Hill Community Center, right behind the community center, to have that place booked. We've paid for the permit for it. So it's on the 27th of August. We have a space. We're in the process of finalizing the permit for having the Ratha Yatra cart walk around and booking the police escort to be able to do that here, to do the parade. So we're just back and forth, right? Speaking on, emailing back with the city with regards to that. And we had booked also the community center here just in case, so we can have inside dwellings. It's quite expensive. It's about $3,000 to book it for Friday and Saturday. And we're thinking maybe we don't need that, because Ratha Yatra is generally an outdoor festival. And even if the weather's not that great, we would have tents. We'd have to get some tents anyways to be able to do that. So we have it booked on standby, but we might withdraw that permit to do that and maybe see if we can just have access to the washrooms on site there. But that's as far as we've gotten with that. So, and some devotees are thinking, we've got some beautiful posters that have come up, and I know some devotees are meditating on maybe doing some henna, having some kids tent, donations tent, prasadam, what are we going to make? But again, if we want to make it happen nicely, then we need to start getting together, and maybe having some meetings, and coming up with some teams of, what are we going to do? How are we going to host devotees? Are we going to have a staged event? Is there going to be drama? Is there going to be a dance? How much prasadam do we need to prepare? How many tents do we need? We have to call the rental agency to see, can we even get a tent for 6 weeks from now? How big is it going to be? How much is it going to cost? Do we need insurance? Those kind of things. And I'm on some of those things. I'm trying to kind of the logistics in terms of, maybe getting the permits and the insurance that I can do. But I'm not able to do everything. And so it's really up to us, right, as a team, as a ISKCON Ottawa, to see how we want to do it. And it's a great opportunity for us to also host other Vaishnavas, make invitations. So it's a call to devotees. If any of you have any experience, right, in any of these departments, or even just a desire to help, to organize, to spearhead, to put a team together, to get some meetings going, go for it. I'm your 100% well-wisher, your supporter, right? And if there's anything that you need, any help, support that you need to be able to put it together, then I'll do whatever I can to do it. Other devotees feel the same way. We're here to help each other out. But it's a wonderful opportunity for us to do that. We've only done 2 Ratha Yatras here in Ottawa, and one was maybe about I don't know, 10 years ago or so. We did Carling Avenue. It was quite far. We did one, also I think Andrew Hayden Park, which is by Britannia Beach. And but this route is going to be special because it's going to be around this neighborhood in front of the temple. It's here. We have a lot of people that know us here. It's accessible. We have a nice park, nice access. So please, devotees, think about it and let's get together. Jai. So at this point, I guess we're gonna. It's 4:30. We can do some kirtan. Get to kirtan. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Thank you. Brother Kundalata, would you like to lead some kirtan? As long as you can, Mother Kundalata. Mike's not so good.
Hare जय ओम विष्णुपाद परम परिव्राज का आचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद विजयंग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की ISKCON DVD फाउंडर आचार्य जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की नित्य लीला प्रविष्टो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राज का आचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद विजयंग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्यामकुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की नवदीप मायापुर धाम की पुरी द्वारका धाम की मथुरा वृंदावन धाम गंगा माई यमुना माई की श्रीमती तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की समवेत भक्त वृंद की हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की गौर प्रेमानंद all glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for participating in the aerobics. So spiritual aerobics, yeah, it was good. Mother Mila, would you like to come and just say a few words about? I was supposed to make an announcement about the donations that are happening. Can you tell us a little bit about what's been happening, what you've been doing?
Okay. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, dear devotees. As you know, Ukrainian humanitarian crisis is not going better, and a lot of Ukrainian refugees are adopted at different countries in Europe and in Northern America. But also, there are Ukrainian devotees who decided not to leave the country. And instead, they just moved from eastern area, which are in the war right now, to a more western area of Ukraine, where it's relatively safe. So they joined Yatra in city of Lvov. And what's going on now is there are 50 to 60 people living there in that Yatra. And Bhakti Marga Swami and Niranjana Swami, what they are asking us to do is they are asking us to help to that Lvov Yatra. They want Canadian devotees to adopt Ukrainian devotees who are living in that Lvov Yatra right now. So what we're supposed to do if we have that chance, I'm pretty sure that many of you already made donations to different programs for that. But this specific project is we're supposed to support Lvov Yatra, which doesn't have enough funds right now. All what they are looking for is $2,000 a month to support those 50 to 60 people who live there right now. And there is a project created. And what they want us to do is to adopt some devotees by taking a pledge to donating $20, $25, maybe $10 each month, if it's possible to do. That would support them a lot. This is a project of Niranjana Swami specifically, so I would like to encourage you to participate in that one. There is a link which we can share with you. I don't have authority to place that link in our WhatsApp, yes, a group, but maybe
We'll do it.
you,
Yeah.
you can do it. And also, that would be good to include that specific link
Yes.
into our month's
Weekly bulletin.
bulletin.
Yeah.
Yes, so please go on that link, take a look at what it is, and maybe you can take this pledge to send them $10 each month or $15 or $25 each month. So this is what I wanted to say. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much. Very well. Yeah, so as Mother Mila was saying, it's only $2,000 if all of Canada can come up with $2,000 a month. So there are other yatras. I think same announcement is going to be made in Toronto. So it's definitely doable. And I think there's enough devotees, for us to be able to do that. So we'll send that in the bulletin and we'll send it in the WhatsApp link. And if you have any questions, you can ask Mother Mila or Krishna Seva or myself at some point. So right now, prasadam will be served. So we're bringing it upstairs. We have a nice vegetarian feast. It's been prepared. I think it's a Ekadasi feast today. So it's fasting from grains and beans. So I hope you will enjoy that. And the curtains here will remain open. We're going to close these curtains over here. So if anybody wants to have darshan of the deities, feel free to do so.